Leadership. It's not only about the titles, it's about the mindset, it's about the choices, it's about the composure under pressure. In this conversation with David Allen, we explore how great leaders motivate themselves, how they handle imposter syndrome, make tough decisions and stay grounded when everything is on the line. If you've ever wondered what separates real leaders from the rest, then this one is for you. Well, David, good morning and welcome.
Morning, Rian. Great to be here again. Great to run this session with you. I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely. I enjoy talking to you because the subjects that we talk about are so interesting. So today we're talking about leadership and various aspects of it. Leadership obviously starts with leading yourself. And I think in that respect, at some stage or another, we all fail with that one. When motivation dips or imposter syndrome starts creeping in, what strategies do you use to keep your drive and your confidence on par?
Rian, there's a quote that I kind of live by. It's something that kind of changed my whole outlook on things. And it's a quote by Mariana Williamson. And she kind of says, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. I have always battled with the idea of imposter syndrome. Here I am. I mean, since we spoke last time, I just come back from the States giving training and talks. And in a couple of weeks' time, I'm actually going back to the States to do more training. And I often sit with this idea, like, who am I to train law enforcement in America? Because I'm only a police reservist. I mean, I've been 30 years in the police, but I'm still technically a reservist. And now and I police a town that doesn't have a traffic light. And now I'm training people that police towns that don't sleep at night, kind of thing. There's big lights, and you always got this idea of who am I to be doing this? That imposter syndrome. Am I the right person for the job? And what's interesting with me is that even though I make a living doing public speaking, I actually have a stutter. When I was back at high school, you couldn't get 2 words out of me. I would always stutter. My English teacher now, like, she follows me on social media. She'll message me and say, like, I can't believe you're the same kid that couldn't give the English oral in class because you would stutter the whole time.
That's a great compliment.
Even now, when I get nervous, there's certain words, especially words that start with an S, I kind of get set about. And if I'm going to read something, my mind goes back to where I couldn't read in class, and I kind of panic a little bit. And so even now, before I do any talk, I've got to do a little bit of a quiet time. That's why I love doing stuff with you. We kind of chat a little bit before we actually start the session, and it kind of helps to calm me down. And then from there, I can go. But when I was in high school, I just matriculated, or was about to matriculate. And I was feeling very emotional. I mean, how do I get a job? I mean, I can't even work at McDonald's because I'm going to have to say, do you want extra fries with that? And if I can't even talk to say, do you want extra fries, then how do I work? And I was feeling very emotional, very down about my whole outlook. And I was at a circus. I think it was actually the Boswell Wilkie Circus. And there was outside, they had an elephant that was kind of in between shows. You can go out and see some of the animals. And there was an elephant that was kind of tied up outside in this little ring. But I noticed that there was a chain around the elephant's ankle, but it was tied up to almost like a little toothpick. It wasn't chained to anything substantial. It was like something that, I mean, he has an animal that can knock over oak trees and go through forests, but it's chained to something like so small.
Yeah,
and I read
big in the ground.
Yeah, like, I just thought, well, someone's made a mistake here. And I kind of went to the one trainer on the side, and one-on-one I could kind of talk. I wasn't as nervous, and I kind of explained, hey, I think there's a bit of a safety hazard over here. And he actually explained to me how they train African elephants in the circus. He kind of said when they come in as calves, they chain them to something immovable. So the chain goes on and the calf tries to pull its leg, but it can't move because it's chained to something immovable. And as this elephant gets older, the moment the chain goes on, it assumes it's chained to something immovable. So it actually doesn't
Yeah.
even move. Even though it could, with the chain off, it could go through oak trees. The moment that chain goes on, it thinks it can't move, and you can literally chain it to a plastic chair, something very small. And in that explanation, and I do hope the explanation is accurate, but that was in his explanation to me. I kind of realized there was this moment where I realized I was this African elephant. I mean, here I am. I mean, the Bible says I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I can do all things, but I'm scared and I've got bad teeth and my tummy's a bit, so I kind of shy away. But I'm one, and you kind of shy away from things. And here you are, you got the ability or the potential to be great, but we kind of hold ourselves back, or something someone else has said to us actually puts that chain and we don't want to move. And I kind of realized with that poem, because soon after I kind of read that poem, it was those two things together, that my biggest fear was not that I was inadequate. My biggest fear was actually I could go through oak trees. I could actually rise up. And it was part of that mental shift in my mind that realized, Dave, you can do this. Give it a go. And before I used to shy away, then I just looked for any opportunity to start talking, to start, at youth at church, and just started building that confidence. When I joined the police reservists, I'd have to walk into uncomfortable situations. And again, instead of shying back, I try to step up. And even though, yes, I'd embarrass myself in some of the talks, but I would still not shy away from it. I'd still step up and kind of taught myself how to build that self-confidence and be an African elephant in the wild and not kind of chained. But it was part of that mindset that kind of got it going. And I so often chat with people that like want to apply for a job, for example, and they get nervous, they get scared, like, who am I to be in charge? Who am I to be the leader? And they kind of hold themselves back, and so they don't apply. And then someone else gets the job. And then you hear them like, that guy's such an idiot, and I'm way better than them. I've got much better experience. How can they? But that person actually stepped up. That person decided, let me put in my application, let me give it a go. And that person was they kind of made themselves vulnerable to the criticism to step up. And yes, if you keep on shying back, you're not doing anyone any favors. And I mean, I'm sure you would have found that yourself. I mean, here you are coming onto a new platform, like new Zoom sessions and podcasts, and you had to learn it yourself. And I'm assuming there would have been a time that you kind of thought, hey, who am I to come out and put my face out there for the world to see it?
It's still happening. I still battle to, when I edit the videos, look at myself in the video, thinking, why am I having this conversation with these people who know so much? Okay, so it's still there. It's an absolute fact, and you just have to work your way past it and crack on with it.
Yes, and my advice to any leaders, anyone, say yes more than you say no. Say yes more than you say no. When someone says, hey, are you keen to try this? I mean, we get scared and we do shy away, but if you kind of, let me give it a go. If I fail, it's not the end of the world. It's we always think people are laughing at us, and there are times that people might, but a lot of people will actually try and support you, and they're not as critical. So give it a go. At the same time, on that point, there are times that I have had very critical people that kind of, you step up, you try to get out there, and they just want to try and pull you down the whole time. And my advice there, I can remember watching someone fishing for crabs on Durban beachfront, and the conversation there was, I mean, he had this bucket of crabs, and I kind of said, well, aren't you worried that these things are going to escape, And again, guy explained, hey, if there's one crab in the bucket, the crab is going to escape. But when you've got 4 or 5 crabs in the bucket, as one starts to climb, the others start to pull them down. So you can put 5 crabs in a bucket and they're not going to get out, because as one wants to shine, others are going to pull you down. And every time I've had criticism where someone says, oh, but Dave, you don't talk properly, or you need to do this or do that, or because again, with the background in stuttering, I don't always process the correct word for it. So I use a different word and might not. And some people might pick up on that and say, hey, you should have used this word. And there are the criticisms. But instead of letting it pull me down, I want to try and overcome.
Some critique is good and well meant. I had a guy. He's a big time photographer, so this guy really knows his stuff. This guy took the time on Instagram, which is my personal Instagram. It's not even related to the channel. And he wrote me a hell of a long piece. To say that he follows it and he loves the content and that sort of stuff. And then he gave me insights like for lighting, for this, for cameras, he even went so far as to say what sort of price ranges you're looking at, where you can pick these things up. I mean, I read this. I had to read it a couple of times because I was so blown away by this. And the thought that popped into my mind was, holy shit. This bloke just used all his decades of knowledge to sit down and take the time and write this to me in an effort to try and help me. I mean, it is over the freaking top. Okay, I'm still so grateful that he took the time, and we're already looking at some of the things, and some of the things takes time, but we're keeping that as part of our working documents so that we can continue referring to it. It is that valuable. So some critique is always welcome and good, and you only need to let your ego rest so you can understand that this person is well-meaning and it comes from a good place and they're really trying to help you. And then, of course, you get the ugly side of things, especially on social media. And that's where you need to learn to just shake your head and ignore, and try not to let that pull you down, because they want you to stay swimming in the mud with it.
Yes. John Maxwell talks about the law of the flea, the idea that if you put a flea in a container, the flea can kind of jump out. But the moment you put a lid on that container, the flea will jump and kind of hit its head on that lid. So even when you take the lid off, it only jumps as far as that lid. It doesn't, it conditions itself. It learns how to jump that far.
Yes.
I think so many of us have been conditioned, and the moment anyone starts to kind of shine, you'll see a lot of people want to, and I fully agree with you, constructive criticism, but we actually know what constructive criticism is. We kind of say, if someone says, hey, Dave, rather look to the left more when you talk, or don't use your hands as much, that's constructive criticism. And okay, cool, I'll take that and work it. But when someone are like, well, who are you to do this? And you kind of realize they keeping themselves here. They don't like you getting out, so they want to bring you back. And my advice to leadership people and farmers, to anyone running training, to anyone getting out there, is anyone in business, is give it a go. You're going to have more regrets in life not trying, because then you're always going to sit back on your deathbed one day and go, oh, if only I had have given it a go, what my life could have been like. And I always say, try it out, give it a go. If it doesn't work, stop, reassess. But I think regret is one of the worst things. So on my side, imposter syndrome is real. It's there. But we actually got to have that mindset of saying, hey, I can actually do great things. Let me step up.
Okay. Leaders are often defined by the quality of their decisions. How do you personally balance intuition and logic when you're facing difficult or very high stakes choices?
There's an activity we do at camp. I mean, some of my background, I know we covered it in the previous one, in the previous video, some of my background, but I kind of work as a police reservist. I run body language talks and training, but my main line is I actually do leadership courses with school kids at camps and with corporates. So I kind of travel around doing leadership training. And one of the activities I do, I kind of get guys into a smaller group and I give them a word and I say, come up with a song that's got that word in it. So it's quite a nice, fun, interactive session. And this group will so I'll say the word fly, and then guys will start, and as a group start singing this group will sing this song and that group will sing that song with the word fly, and they'll compete with each other. And then I'll come up with like a word boat. And it's human nature to straight away go, oh, I want to think about a really good a song, I want to impress Dave with how clever I am, and I want to think of somebody with an ocean liner. Oh, what can I do? What type of song is there? But there's always the group going, row, row, row your boat. They kind of sing that, and you always get someone that's, no, that's childish. I'm far too articulate. I got my tie on and my suit, and I don't want to sing. And the other group, the group is still going merrily, 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 merrily. And I always say to guys, who's winning the activity? The person waiting for the song about the ocean liner, or the group singing the childish song, row, row, row your boat. And it's an idea that, as you just said, as leaders, we got to make decisions. I mean, that's what sets us apart. I mean, if you look at any leader, it's someone that actually decided, hey, this is what we want to do in a situation, and that's that leader. But how do we make those decisions? And I often say a bad idea is still better than no idea. Do something instead of doing. Now, I'm not saying stick with a bad idea, then iron it out and like hold on to it, and don't change. But I have never gone from no idea to brilliant idea. It hasn't worked. I mean, I've always gone from no idea, bad, better. Okay, cool. I've got my product and my activity. So even if I come up with a new activity, it doesn't always work straight away. But I give it a go. I learn from it. Okay, hold on, let me change it. And I guaranteed, even in the lone operator, if you had to think back to your first days, you've also changed things. It's guarantee what you're doing right now is not what you did the very first course. Things would have changed. Materials changed. You kind of learned better way of presenting, better way. But we don't wait until it's perfect. Give it a go and then you start to build and you work out what it is. I always enjoy Mark Twain's quote of the secret to getting ahead is getting started. Start. I mean, he always says, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. The secret to getting started is taking a complex, overwhelming task, breaking into small, manageable tasks, and then starting on the first one. I mean, in Africa, we kind of say, how do you eat an elephant? And it's one bite at a time. Just do one small thing that gets you. And if you're in a situation and you're like, I just don't know what to do here, then I always tell people, just do the next right thing. What is the next correct thing to do in this? Yes, I want to get to here, but what is the next step? What is the next right thing? So I'll give you an example. At camp, we are back to basics camp, so we also do quite a few journeys where students go out for like 8 days. They're hiking and they do work experience and they kind of travel around a bit of a journey. And I'll get students that have never set up a tent. I mean, they're coming from a big city, and a part of what we're trying to teach is resiliency and how to overcome anxiety. And one of the things we do is literally when they arrive, we kind of give them a tent and say, good luck, set up your shelter for the night. And depending on the type of group, but there are certain groups we actually don't give instructions to. We just say, there's your tent, go for it. And you'll naturally see some like sit down with the tent and they'll kind of get overwhelmed and they've never done this and never set up a tent. And what do I do? And they'll literally sit and just be overwhelmed. But then you have other people that, again, if I gave you a tent, you know what you do. A bad idea is better than no idea. Do something instead of just sitting and doing nothing. And the secret to getting ahead, get started and just do the next right thing. And the next right thing there is, let me open the tent and see what's inside. The next right thing, let me take out the contents and put them out. The next right thing, I've got poles. Let me take this pole and put it. No, that doesn't work. And let me put but then this one works. And very soon, within 10 minutes, even though someone's never set up a tent before, and they made mistakes along the way, they didn't just get it, the first tent is up. And it always amazes me how I've got people with their first tent up, And I've still got at the same time people literally sitting holding their tent with tears in their eyes kind of thing, with overwhelmed and I don't know what to do. And I mean, even the guy that invented the light bulb, Thomas Edison, he didn't go from no idea to ding light bulb. I mean, he made 2,000 mistakes. And I mean, he famously said, you know, I didn't fail 2,000 times. I found 2,000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And so I'm not saying do an idea and like I'm sticking with it no matter what. I mean, that's not what I'm saying here. I'm saying just start, just give it a go. I mean, when I wrote my first book, again, I'm not a writer. I'm not good at English. I couldn't talk at school. I couldn't, but I gave a couple of talks and people liked the material and said, Dave, would you put a book together? I said, oh, and I was nervous because the moment you write something, people are going to go, well, now they can criticize it. Now they can look at it. Now they can pull it apart. And I was scared. So it took me like a year and a half and I actually hadn't sat down. I wanted to go and start writing, but it just didn't get there. And then my wife kind of came along, gave me a clip across the ear, and don't you hate it when you get your own advice back at you? And she kind of, Dave, you talk about this stuff, you need to practice what you preach.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right. And
makes you realize that there a lot of thinking went into the Nike slogan, just do it.
Yes. And that was it, because she's a teacher and she takes the kids off to school at 7 o'clock in the morning. And I've always got downtime because I only start doing any training or any work at about 7:30. So from 7 to 7:30, I've actually got downtime. And normally I'll just veg out on social media. But now it's like, you know what? I was right. I actually just have to start. And yeah, but I don't know which chapter and I don't know what. I was like, no, Dave, just start. And I just started writing. And started on the Monday, and by the Friday, chapter 1 was done, but it was crap. So I kind of deleted it, but I stuck with the discipline. And the next week, Monday, I started, but by Wednesday, chapter 1 was done. It was decent. Started chapter 2, and then got into chapter 3, and then you realize, hey, hold on, actually, chapter 3 should be chapter 1, but because I do this, I need another one. And then it started. And after a year of procrastination, I mean, and I'm working with other, friends of mine and helping, so it's a collaboration on the book. Then my first book comes out within 6 months of actually starting it. And I'm not much of a writer. I've had to have people help me with things and get it going, but it was this idea of just starting.
Yes.
But on that point, I've now banned my wife from listening to any of my talks. Before we went overseas, recently, I had a whole bunch of friends around, and she would prep stuff, but I would clean the kitchen afterwards. And it was one of those weird days where everyone thought that they were helping by like bringing everything, because normally people stack stuff on the table and then they bring it to the kitchen. But everyone kind of grabbed something off the table and kind of brought into the kitchen. So the kitchen was a mess. There was separate plates all over. There was, rubbish everywhere. And I kind of came up to the kitchen and I was just overwhelmed. I mean, it was a mess. There was so much going on. And the last thing I want to do is now wash a whole bunch of dishes when I'm about to fly somewhere. And I was just like, oh my word. I mean, this is just... And so my wife comes, puts her hand on my shoulder and kind of goes, the secret to getting ahead is getting started. Do something instead of doing nothing, just do the next right thing. And I've banned her from my talks now. But again, she was 100% correct, because I was overwhelmed. I mean, there's so much that has to go on. The moment I started, so I'd grab this plate and clear that and stack that and took this rubbish. Very soon it came in, and what I realized is that you don't take action because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you took action.
Yes.
The moment I actually started getting things going, and it wasn't as bad, but there's no ways I'm going to stand there, clean the kitchen and be like, woohoo, let's be motivated. But the moment I started, so again, you don't take action because you feel motivated. You feel motivated because you took action. And as Nike says, just do it. Just give it a go and try it out. And that's my thing on decision making, is let me try. If it doesn't work, I come back and I reanalyze. But I get to my solution a lot quicker if I just start.
Dave, let's talk about leadership styles next. It's the fact that no two teams or two people are ever the same. So how do you adapt your leadership style to fit different individuals or even different situations, while, and this is important, still staying true to who you are?
So to me, there's three main leadership styles. And I've listened to other speakers and people have 5 or 6 different leadership styles. But to me personally, and this is a personal thing, I kind of look at the main three. And the main three to me are your autocratic, democratic, and what they call laissez-faire, or your abdicator. And there's pros and cons on both. I mean, your autocratic leadership style is, I say it, you do it. That's it. I don't need discussion. I don't need anything. And that normally suits like a military situation. I say it, you do it. And there's pros and cons. Number one, it's nice. Decisions are made on the spot. People know exactly what they have to do, so they go in and do it. That's some of the pros. Because some people like being led by being, just tell me what to do, and I'll go do it. A negative part about that style is that people don't always feel that they've got buy-in. And if I'm making a really bad decision and no one else, like I'm driving the car towards a cliff and I'm saying we're going in this direction, no one else has told me, Dave, there's a cliff there, because I've got an autocratic style. So I don't always get people's buy-in or get a better idea on things. Your democratic style, the pros are, yes, I do get people's buy-in. I get other ideas. The thing with democratic style, though, it's still, I'm still responsible. So even though I ask you for your thoughts and you say, I think we should go right, I think we should go left. If it goes wrong, I can't say, it's not my fault. Rion said we must go right. I say, no, yes, I got Rion's advice, but the decision is still mine. The responsibility is still mine as to where, what direction we're going. So I get democratic style, I get people's buy-in. So, and however, the negative part is that it can take a long time to change direction. We're driving along and I've got to listen to 5 people tell us which direction we go. It takes a bit of a time to change. But then I've also got to deal with the egos. Because if everyone says go right and ask, I think I'm going to go left. Now I've got to deal with your ego. Say, why didn't you listen to me and what's going on? So there are the negatives of having a democratic approach. Your laissez-faire, otherwise the abdicator approach, you'd actually, hey, guys, you know what you have to do. You go for it and you do it. But I'm not responsible if something goes wrong. I've abdicated the leadership role to someone else and I've fully empowered them. And some people love that. Some people are, hey, I don't want to be micromanaged, and I love it and I go. However, a lot of people also feel, you know what, just tell me what to do, because decisions are not being made. We're all up here. Everyone's talking about it, but are we actually getting along? What are we doing? And a lot of leadership books kind of talk about finding your style and kind of sticking with it. And I don't, because I'm naturally a democratic leader, and they'll say, no, but I battle with that because I honestly feel you've got to adapt your style to the circumstances you're in. So I find there's certain times I've got to be autocratic, and other times I've got to be democratic. And there's certain people I've got to change it up. So in my camp, if I get a brand new instructor that joins my organization, I'm going to have an autocratic leadership style, because I've run the activities. I know the way of we doing things. I've got 27 years in the business, and I'm not being arrogant, but someone coming in that's young, that's never been in the industry, I need to tell them this is the way we do it. With my older instructors, I'll have a democratic leadership style, because when I'll sit down with them and say, right, we've got this group coming. Which activities do you guys feel we should do? How should we run this program? And because they got experience, they'll say, this activity start this time, and I actually get their thoughts and ideas before I put the program together. But I also got a head instructor, or one of our main guys that is in charge of guiding. So he's a freelance guy that'll come onto our program to assist us with safety and take control of the hikes. With him, I'd actually have a laissez-faire leadership style. I'd say, hey, you know best, you know your trade. What do you want to do? Go with it. Now, I suppose the same would be even in your situation. You get a brand new instructor comes along on your side, and you want to do something, say, guys, this is the way we do it. Your older people that have been instructing for a while, you'd be democratic. Hey, we set up a new program. What do you guys think? What works? And you'd pull in from other people. But then you get a guy like Leo Prinsloo, for example, that if he says, hey, I'm keen to run you would actually give him carte blanche because he's really good at what he does, and you wouldn't want to micromanage him. You'd say, cool, whatever you want to run a program, go for it. So even in most organizations, you can, and I always encourage people to adapt the leadership style depending on the circumstances and who they're dealing with.
Yeah, that makes sense because people react, different people react differently to how you go about leading them. Some people need a bit of a, shall we say it, kick up the backside. Others are doing perfectly fine by just saying, great job, do more of it. And then you can leave them to it. That's how it works, I think. David, what do you think separates leaders who are followed out of respect from those who are followed merely out of obligation or even fear?
I think it's definitely the way that you would treat them. It does tie into this idea of a leadership style. I mean, I always find someone will come in to a new organization and they brand new in an organization. And I always remember old farmer telling me, you never take down a fence until you know why it was put up there in the first place. You never take down a fence until you know why it was put up. And a lot of times a new leader will come in and they straight away want to radically change the culture, change everything, but they don't know the culture of that organization. Has it worked before? Has it not? How does it? And I think very often they can step on quite a few toes and get the people within the organization upset, and they lose a lot of respect because they kind of come and want to change everything around completely without understanding the culture of that organization. I think a lot of it comes down to exactly what we're talking about now, that leadership style. You find you got respect when you can talk to people differently, you can adapt. So you understand the fundamentals of this and you can change it. Because again, if you're a laissez-faire kind of person because you're an expert in a field, and I come in and start to have an autocratic leadership style where I'm micromanaging you, I'm not going to get production from you. You're actually going to say, oh, no, I know what I'm doing. I'm there. And chances are either your productivity is going to drop or I'm actually going to lose you. You're going to leave to another place. But like you say, if there's someone that needs a good kick up the backside and I've just let them do their own thing because I want to be a laissez-faire person, but I can see they're not stepping up, I've got to change it and become autocratic and come and say, guys, this is how you got to do it. And I need productivity because, again, I need their respect, but I also need the other guys' respect that say, hey, why are these guys getting away with it? And I do find a lot of it within being respected within as a leadership role is being able to change how you deal with people and getting to know your people a little bit better. Because again, some people love just being told what to do, and other people love it when they can give out their thoughts and ideas. And as a leader, it's nice to get to know your people.
So do you consider that saying respect breeds respect to be valid?
Sorry, go again. My speaker just dipped.
I said the saying respect breeds respect. Do you consider that to be valid?
That 100%. I mean, there's the whole thing of I will respect you if you respect me. But the problem is I'm waiting for you to respect me, you waiting for me, and there's a bit of this clash. And that's why I kind of spoke about in that first session we did with body language, how a leader would come in and with their own, in that first 30 seconds, they actually do things that make people feel welcome, that make people feel comfortable, that they kind of lead with manners and shake someone's hand and look them in the eyes and have that basic manners to get that initial respect. A lot of people, again, imposter syndrome comes in. They're very nervous. What are they going to do? And they kind of default with being overly aggressive at first. When they meet people, especially a new leader coming into a situation, and they can lose a lot of respect from people in that organization.
The compliment sandwich. I love saying that, by the way, the compliment sandwich. a positive, then criticism, and then another positive. It's maybe potentially become something of a leadership cliche, though. But do you think it still works? Do you think it's still valid? How can leaders give feedback that's both kind and constructive?
A big part of what we do as leaders is, I mean, I've got to tell someone when they're doing something wrong. I mean, and it's very easy to give a compliment. It's very easy to tell someone, hey, you're doing a good job. That's easy. But how do I actually say, hey, you need to pull your socks up. You're not doing such a good job. Because here's the problem. I give you a criticism. It actually activates a part of your mind known as your fight or your flight. And a lot of people don't realize that. So if I criticize you, you either want to argue back, that's your fight part, or flight. Now, you might not physically get up and run away, but you would mentally switch off. You're just like, you know what? I'm not listening to this guy anymore. I'm irritated with him. If you think back to when you're at school and you were talking in class and your teacher would say, Dave, stop talking. If it's a once-off criticism, you'd actually go, oh, sorry, ma'am, and you would stop talking. But there's always that one teacher that would overdo it. You know, there's always that one teacher that will go, Dave, stop talking. Why is it always you? Every time I turn around, you're the one, and they kind of over criticize. Did you get more and more interested in what it is that you say? Or did you actually switch off?
Yeah, switch off.
Because they activated fight or flight. You didn't want to argue with them because you know that was going to get you into more trouble. So you just switched off and let them carry on talking. And here's the thing. So the moment I've got to criticize you, if I've got to explain the criticism, you've got a big chance that someone's either going to start arguing back or they're going to switch off. So the easiest thing or the best way is do what we call the compliment sandwich. Compliment, criticism, compliment. Dave, love having you in my class. Compliment. But Dave, every time you talk, you're disrupting the other students and you need to stop. Criticism. However, I always enjoy your enthusiasm. I know you're capable of doing better. I look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Criticism, compliment, and that's your compliment sandwich.
Yes.
I understand most of us go, Dave, I love having you in the class, but, and then we explain. And we actually forget everything the good thing that was said. We only concentrate on the bad thing and we start arguing it through. And I always tell people that have teenagers, every time that you over criticize your teenager, and now that you can supplement teenager with staff member even, and they get that glassy-eyed look in their face. So they come home late and you say, you should have been home at 10, and you start over criticizing. And the teenager gets a glassy look in their eyes. We assume the glassy look means they didn't understand what it is I said, so I explained it again. And you get more of a glassy look. So I explained it again. And I explained it 3 or 4 times, and a 5-minute conversation becomes a 30-minute conversation, me explaining it. Still got the glassy look means they've actually left the building. They're not listening to you anymore. And it doesn't matter, even though they're 100% wrong, if you carry on, at some point it's going to end up in an argument where they try to defend themselves and justify what they've done. Or again, they're just fleeing and you're going nowhere. So, I mean, I've had that with some of my staff. I start criticizing and then I realize that's when I kind of go, stop. I've said what I've had to say, I'll stop. I come back later and say, hey, can we carry on with that conversation, that follow-up? And now I can have the conversation. So it's not a criticism becomes discussion. And I can get my point across. I mean, from a self-defense perspective, bringing and understanding this principle also helps us avoid conflict. I mean, here we are. We're at the mall and it's packed. And you looking for parking, I'm looking for parking. This car is about to come out. You've got your indicator on. You've indicated you're ready to come in. I come around the corner, but the way the car comes out, it kind of blocks you and gives me an opportunity. So I steal your parking. I and I steal your parking. You are naturally going to be upset and you're going to go beep, beep. Hey, are you blind? Okay. Now, when you understand this principle, you got a decision to make here. I am not going to admit that I'm a bad person. I'm not going to tell you that I'm a loser. I'm not going to tell you that I stole your parking. I will make a dumb excuse. I'm going to make up a dumb excuse. And I'm going to say, sorry, I didn't see you there. And here's the thing. At this point, Rion Coetzee has a decision to make. You know it's a dumb excuse. And now, if you accept the dumb excuse, understanding that if you start criticizing and calling out my dumb excuse, you're going to activate fight or flight. And all I'm going to do is start arguing back and mentally feel, you know what, because if you accept the dumb excuse, I'll say, oh, yeah, so, yeah, not a problem, dude. Yes, you didn't see me, not a problem. You accept the dumb excuse, I'll reverse, and you will come in. But if you don't accept it, what do you mean you didn't see me? You looked me in the eyes and you start insulting the car I drive, the rock I was born under, my mother, you start insulting everyone. What am I going to end up doing? I'm going to leave my car right there. Because the argument now is not about the parking. I've already admitted I was wrong. The argument now is about, but you don't talk to me in that manner. You need to show me more respect. And the argument's changed. Because I don't want to be a loser forever. If you over criticize me, even though I am 100% wrong, I'm 100% in the wrong. I'm not going I might admit it for a little bit, but if you carry on, I'm going to try and justify it. And the argument picks up. So again, in a street situation, someone's stolen your parking. Just, I always say the ABCs of conflict, always be cool. Just your ABCs, remember, always be cool. It's a dumb excuse. You know what? Not a problem. Because the moment you start attacking, I'm just going to have another problem on my hands. It's just going to escalate. Even though I'm right, it's just going to escalate. It's not worth it. Always be cool. And I make that leadership.
And at the end of the day, it really screws up your own day more than anything else. So in my mind, before we step off this point, in my mind, I see this sandwich, this complimentary sandwich. I see it as the negative being the filling, the criticism. That's the filling. So I see 2 slices of toasted rye bread with fresh farm butter, which is the sandwich. And then the criticism part, the negative part, I see as sliced up banana, because I am completely unable to understand why anybody would want to put banana on their bread, even if it's rye bread. So in my mind, that's my complimentary sandwich right there. Dave, I've got your book, and I haven't really had time to get into it. I'm still reading your body language book, which I'm finding extremely interesting. But I saw something here about the law of the second person. Maybe you could explain to us exactly what that is all about.
That is a nice leadership tool that helps leaders explain things so people kind of understand what's happening. It also helps avoid a bit of conflict. So the law of the second person pretty much states that I will appreciate something or accept something when a second person, and normally someone of a perceived higher authority, reiterates what the first person has said. So, for example, I go to the shopping center, and the day before I bought a toaster, and now this toaster doesn't work. And I'm going to come with and I threw the receipt away and I don't have it. And naturally this salesperson says, hey, listen, not a problem. We can return the toaster. I just need your receipt. I'm not throwing it away, and I'm going to argue and say, look on the cameras. It was me here. Here's my credit card receipt. And we're going to argue about it. And the moment I get nowhere, the moment I can't win the argument, I straight away ask for the supervisor. I'm battling with this person. I actually start getting aggressive with this person. I start saying, what the hell? And I look on the cameras and what's wrong with you? And I actually start getting quite aggressive and confrontational. And then I get to a point where I say, I want to see your supervisor. And then the manager comes on, or the supervisor comes down. And you'll actually notice we changed tacks. We were getting quite arrogant with the salesperson. We're getting a bit confrontational. But the moment the manager comes down, we kind of go, excuse me, ma'am. Listen, I'm sorry. I know I don't have my receipt. I know I'm in the wrong. However, I was here yesterday. And we actually change our tone of voice. And we actually talk nicely to the manager a little bit. And then the manager just reiterates. listen, sorry, it's our store policy. I'm actually going to get fired if I do that. I need that receipt. There's not. And for some reason, we accept it when it comes from that second person. We're not happy about it. We still want our toaster, but we kind of, oh, okay, yeah, it's fine. You know, we kind of accept it. And sometimes we kind of say, oh, you know what? I like dealing with you because you spoke so nicely. This person has an attitude. And we still want to kind of attack the poor salesperson. They literally said the exact same thing. But we accept it because it comes from a person of that higher perceived authority. Okay. So the law of the second person states that just once, even though I've said exactly what the first person has said, because it's come from that higher perceived authority and it's kind of reinforced what the first person has said, I do it. So when I'm taking people abseiling, for example, I'll have a kid and I'm on the rocks abseiling through, and this kid starts, I mean, it's 20 minutes. They're asking me questions and are you qualified? Is the rope strong enough? I mean, they're asking me all these questions because they're trying to delay the response of actually abseiling. So that's why the more questions they ask me, the longer it takes and they delaying. And I've explained everything for 20 minutes. I'm qualified. The rope is fine. You'll be okay. I've had this. But then I realize, Dave, you've taken this person so far. I'll then, to one of the other instructors, I'll kind of signal. I've got a business partner, and we always used to kind of signal with each other. We just swap over. So then he would come in, and I'd go to his person that he was belaying.
Okay.
It always amazed me. Within 2-3 minutes, the kid that what took me 20 minutes, no, I still couldn't get them to go. Within 2 minutes, Alfred's kind of got them over the edge and they're going. And it's not because he's a better talker than I am. And it's not because I did something. It's literally that second person that says, hey, rope is fine. Everything's fine. You qualified. You're going to be okay. Come, let's go. And a part of it is I've got to watch the ego, because when I can't take it too, no, I mean, I can stick there for a whole hour trying to talk them off the ledge.
Yeah.
Or leave the ego and understand second person. Let me get a second person and says the same thing, and it's done. And
sounds like dealing with teenagers.
And again, when I come into a company to talk about customer service, for example, the manager will sit there. The manager's been talking about customer service forever. But I now come in and do a body language thing of shaking hands and looking someone in the eye, and I'll do a leadership training. And then the students or the employees that had the training go, oh, this is revolutionary. Wow, we can apply this. And then the manager's like, I've been telling them this whole time. Why do they listen to you? It's not because I've made it sound better, or I've literally, it's just a second person. You were the first person that told them this. They need that second. And you would find, even with your own instructors, for example, you're trying to tell someone, hey, no, this is the stance. This is the stance. This is why we do the stance. And when you find that someone keeps on changing the stance, the idea is try to get someone else to come in and give a presentation on effective stance, and then people get it. I mean, it's like my wife always says, Dave, wear more black shirts. You look good in black, wear more black shirts. And I never wear black shirts. And then I might talk to someone else that says, you look good in black shirts. And then I say, you know what? I actually think I'm going to buy some more black shirts. And my wife will be like, I've been telling you that forever. Like, why do you listen to that person? And again, it's just the law of the second person. If you apply it into conflict as the manager of something, if the customer comes to complain, I do want to throw my employee under the bus a little bit, because I want to be the second person, because I can't solve the problem. I need the first person going to tell them what's happening, then I would come in and be that second person. And if I happen to be, because I've explained to my staff, like, this is this principle, if I happen to be the first person, they've come straight in and spoken to me about it, then I know at some point they will have to come in and say, listen, Dave's been doing this a while. This is just the way it is. And I allow them to be the second person. But I don't have the ego. It's just understanding people slightly better.
Well, there you have it. From the words, from the lips of David Allen himself, internationally renowned speaker on the topics of leadership and body language, and also an author on the same. Leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about asking better questions. It's about making grounded decisions and staying steady when others can't. David Allen reminded us today that real leadership starts from within. In this episode, or if this episode rather gave you something to think about, share it with someone who's leading, learning, or growing. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more conversations that build better leaders, one mindset at a time. As always, as I've said, like the video, subscribe to the channel, smash that bell icon for us so that you can get more new videos in your notifications. If you're interested in anything to do with the loan operator training courses, link in the description below, check it out. We look forward to seeing you on a range one of these days. I will put David's contact details up on the screen. If you are interested in learning more or getting him to come and speak at your company and do some training, he is your guy. David, that's it from me. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Rian, thank you very, very much. Thank you.